what are the other things you then, in other words, and one thing you mentioned was really important is that you A/B split test with one change only, so you know whether that change, whether it's a headline, works against that headline, but everything else is the same in the ad. Anything
Right.
else? Okay, what are some of the other things you split test?
So other things that we've split tested is processes in the business, like whether giving someone 2 or 3 calls 30 days after their press release to have certain discussions with them, like looking at their reports, because the reports continue to live for 30 days after the release goes out. And we split tested what the results were with them and whether that leads to more engagement. We kind of found that it didn't, but I still do it because I believe that having good communication with the customer after the process, I think that that's going to they're going to appreciate it. And as long as you're not approaching it from a sales standpoint, you're not trying to upsell them. You're really trying to get them to better understand the reports and the opportunity. And so I think that it's going to work, but statistically, it hasn't proven to work so far since we've been doing it. Other things that that I've done in the business is I didn't really split test it, but I got out of the way of my business. I used to have huge turnover. The average employee stayed about a year,
Right.
and I belonged to a mastermind, and I would complain every time I was there about I was having terrible turnover. And finally, Nancy Slesinger, who was an HR consultant in the UK, she goes, Mickie, I don't work with small businesses, but I'm just tired of you spending all your money being part of this mastermind and wasting it talking about these labor issues. She goes, I want to interview all your employees and I'll get to the bottom of why your employees aren't staying very long and how you can maybe get the right employees into your company that will stay long. And so she interviewed everybody and interviewed me, and she looked at all my job ads and the way that I hire, and she came back and said, Mickie, you are 100% the problem. You micromanage them and they
Right.
don't feel that they're doing anything well. Every time they had a conversation, I'd go over and stand behind them and say, hey, next time you talk to them, don't say no. Is there a way you could have said yes and given them, you're still letting them down, but you said it through yes. And all these little tips and tricks that I learned as a marketer, I'm trying to just squeeze down them, and it's just driving them nuts because it's like nothing I do is good enough. Everything that I do is wrong.
Yeah.
And so in April of 2015, I just told the staff, I'm going home. I'm going to focus on marketing. And you guys, I put up one of the editors in charge as a managing editor. And I said, you guys are just going to work under her and we'll see how it goes. All but one employee from 2015 is still there.
Wow.
And before they'd stay a year, and now I've got people that have been there 7, 8 years and longer. And it was because I got out of the way. And
Yeah.
sometimes, as an entrepreneur and a business owner, is you want everything to be perfect. You want everything to be like as good as it can be. And the fact of the matter is, as my HR consultant friend said, Mickie, another thing we did was surveyed the customers, and they said your customers, above everything else, the thing that they feel eReleases does better than anything else is customer service. And she goes, so these people aren't doing a bad job, they're doing a phenomenal job. And you may feel like there's room for improvement, but you have to trust that they're doing a good enough job, and and move on from there. And so I just backed away, and the business just continued to grow. I could focus on growing the revenue and bringing in new customers and not worry about the customer service side of things, because it may not be the way I would do it, but it's being done well, and people have numbers and things that they can show how they're contributing, so it's measurable, but they're still doing a good enough job.